hard to put me on the spot. I go like, it's fight day. It's fight day. Is that good enough? Hello, welcome to the Go Grab That Day podcast. Today we're going to talk about some fights. So, hope everyone is good. Hope you're all happy and stuff. So, UFC 258 is in the books. It literally just finished here in New Zealand. And I couldn't really wait to talk about it because I'm mad to talk about it. So, let's get straight into it. We'll run down the fights, run through the card as quick as we can, as usual. Starting with the prelims. So we have Andre Ewell with Chris Gutierrez with a win over Andre Ewell. Polyana Viana beating Mallory Martin. And then we have Belal Muhammad beating Diego Lima, which was a really exciting fight. The pressure from Muhammad throughout the whole fight, constantly closing off any avenue for Diego Lima to walk anywhere. Just kept cutting off the octagon at each side. It was just heavy pressure and no dip in his cardio whatsoever. It won via decision. He couldn't get the finish, but he landed some big shots throughout the fight. I think Lima just couldn't deal with the pressure. It was a good win. He's Belal Muhammad's another one of these guys that people kind of ignore. He flies under the radar a little bit, but very, very good fighter. There's some super pressure he puts on there. And on the prelims, one fight I really wanted to talk about was the Rodolfo Vieira versus Anthony Hernandez fight, which was probably the biggest shock on the card. For those that don't know, Vieira is like one of the top of the top when it comes to jiu-jitsu. He's won all sorts of tournaments and stuff like that. I can't really name the tournaments he won, but I know he has a list of them. A super dangerous guy on the ground, and Hernandez just shocked the world by beating the absolute piss out of him. He just the other thing is with Vieira is he seemed to gas after the first round, which was not good. But like, he's a super big guy. He looks like he should be fighting at heavyweight, and he's at 185 pounds middleweight. But a huge guy, so it takes a lot of oxygen to fuel those muscles. But yeah, he was in a good position in the first round, and he was trying to go for a submission. So I don't know, did he burn out his muscles? But not really a good thing if you're burning out that easy. But nevertheless, Hernandez really good, landing some big bombs and eventually submitting him with an arm-in guillotine, I believe it was. But yeah, like to submit Rodolfo Vieira, to have that on your record is unbelievable. So what a win for Hernandez. And I believe they said it on the broadcast that you would have got the odds of 30-1 for Hernandez to win via submission. So I don't think too many would have bet on it, but my God, if you did, you would have got a nice payout. So yeah, that was a massive shock that no one expected. Vieira, still a dangerous guy, but definitely needs to work on, I don't know, is it his cardio, or maybe there's other reasons for why there was such a dip. But yeah, super tired when he came out for the second round, which was quite strange. And then we have, to kick off the main card, was Julian Marquez versus Maki Pitolo, which was another really exciting fight. Somewhat back and forth, you could say. In my opinion, Pitolo was up 2 rounds before it went into the third, and Marquez had to get a finish, which he did. Got the submission win, but again, a really, really exciting fight. Marquez then gave quite a funny speech afterwards, but it was a real kind of WWE promo type stuff. And I think Joe Rogan asked him about a call out, and he basically called out Miley Cyrus to be his Valentine. So entertaining but crazy stuff. But yeah, great win for him nonetheless. And moving on, we had Ricky Simon versus I never know whether it's Ricky Simon or Ricky Simone, because they always pronounce it differently. Simone sounds cooler, but yeah, Ricky Simone versus Brian Boom Kelleher. That was, again, in typical Ricky Simone and Brian Kelleher fights. It was high paced and just swinging some bombs, and Ricky Simone got the decision in the end. But again, yeah, another really exciting fight. And moving on, we had the return of Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch. Quick little story for people that don't know on Ian Heinisch. He was actually, I believe he spent a bit of time in prison in Spain for drug muling or something like that. A bit of a dark past, but yeah, you read up on the story. There's a bit more detail than that. Like, but I'm just letting people know he has quite an interesting story behind him. I believe it was Amsterdam or somewhere in Europe. Anyway, he spent time in prison when he was a bit younger. Yeah, for basically bringing drugs across borders or something like that. So obviously trying to put that in the past, but it's just an interesting story when you hear him talk about it. But back on to the fight. Good win for Kelvin Gastelum. He looked really good throughout this fight. Heinisch was known for, like, he's got good strong wrestling. Gastelum kind of used his own weapons against him, and his wrestling looked quite good too. So good to see that, because I believe a lot of people kind of have written off Kelvin Gastelum. He's been on a bit of a, not necessarily a bad run. Like, he's lost his last 2 fights, but yeah, it's just, lost it to good competitors too. Like, so you can't be too harsh on him. But it was good to see him get a win back, because I quite like him. He's a good character and a really good fighter, super underrated guy as well, considering he gave Israel Adesanya his biggest test ever. So you got to give him credit there. Be interesting to see if he can climb his way back up to eventually get a title shot, because he is definitely one of the best guys in that division. And then moving on to the co-main, which was another bit of a shock here, I suppose. I don't know, it was a big, not to me necessarily, but I believe Macy Barber was the favourite going into this fight, I think. So Macy Barber versus Alexa Grasso. So yeah, this was a really exciting fight again as well. Both of them throwing bombs, landing shots. There was one thing I kind of picked up on that I think it was one of the commentators picked up on it too. Is one thing Macy Barber was doing that was very strange, was she was throwing a lot of feints, but from way out, like way away from Alexa Grasso, which I thought was quite weird. Like doing it over and over, like throwing feints. I don't know, was there a plan there with that, but like she wasn't really anywhere near to get a reaction out of Grasso, so I don't know why she was doing that. It looked a little odd. She kind of started doing it at the start of the fight, and I thought it was kind of just getting loose, maybe. But no, she continued to do it, and yeah, it just looked a little weird. I don't know why. What's the idea behind that? Well, maybe it is to just keep herself loose. I don't really know. But one thing's got to be said about this fight: it was a great win for Grasso. Her hands looked really good, but Macy Barber in that third round, probably knowing that she was losing, she gave it everything, put some horrifying pressure on Alexa Grasso, just kept coming at her, swinging bombs, and hurting her at times too. But it was too late at that stage. I believe she was down 2 rounds to 1 anyway. So, but it's good to see, and the commentators did allude to that as well, that it's good to see someone laying it all out there, trying to get a finish when they know they're losing. I don't think there's not enough fighters that do that. But yeah, good win for Grasso, and that was a really good fight, really enjoyable fight. Macy Barber, very, very exciting fighter. A little reckless at times. I think that might be like some of her strikes. If she was a little less reckless, I think she would, do a little more damage. But yeah, she was swinging for the fences with someone trying to take Grasso's head off. But yeah, I loved the pressure she put on in that third round. It was really cool to see, just giving it absolutely everything and trying to just get the win some way. And it was really good to see. I love to see when a fighter does that. And then moving on to the main event, my God, did I enjoy this fight so much. I'm sure everyone knows the story at this stage, that the Usman and Burns were previous training partners. They were sparring partners down at, it was Henry Hooft's gym. And then obviously, Kamaru Usman being the champion and Burns was kind of on a bit of a tear, they decided, or at least Burns decided that he wanted to challenge him for the title, which I think is good. You got to give him respect for that, because they all want to be champs. So I thought, respect to Gilbert Burns for saying, listen, I want to fight you. And Usman eventually left the camp, going down with Trevor Whitman, who's, listen, it's another great coach. He's not really, I was a little worried the fact he had left the camp, because it's changing everything up a bit, but he showed signs of Trevor Whitman Trevor Whitman's coaching, that's for sure. So yeah, in the first round he got dropped by a heavy right hand by Gilbert Burns, and Burns looked really good. He came out early, like putting the pressure, holding the centre of the octagon, putting big pressure on Usman. He was landing heavy shots, and to be honest, I was a little worried, thinking, Usman might get dropped hard here. But it just changed. Listen, the story of this fight is going to be the jab, or the straights. Usman's jab was just wicked, and I speak all the time about how good Trevor Whitman is, but this is another one of these reasons why. Is after the first round, where I feel Gilbert Burns won the first round, you hear Trevor Whitman saying, listen, you're a champion because of your jab. Your jab is what made you a champion. And he had landed a couple of them in the first round, some nice hard jabs, but didn't throw it enough. Came out in the second round and he was throwing it over and over, and he was switching stances constantly, and each jab, whatever hand he was using, whether he was the right hand or the left, it was stiff, long jab, and it was hurting Gilbert Burns every time. The sound of it, there was such power in it, and in the end, that's what won him the fight. He got the finish in the third round, early in the third round. But it's all about the jab in that fight. It was unbelievable, and you gotta give props to Trevor Whitman, because he did say it in between rounds. For anyone that didn't hear that, yeah, just such a good performance. And the other thing is, people have to now start respecting how good Usman is. He doesn't get nearly enough praise for like how unbelievably good he is. And what I really like about him is he doesn't do anything fantastic. As in, everything he does is very plain. Like, he has a really good jab. His wrestling, I don't mean plain as in it's at a low level or anything, but he just does all those little things perfectly. Like a really good jab, Even when he had hurt Burns at one point in the fight, he didn't chase after him too wildly. He tried to finish him, but then when he realised he wasn't getting it, he was calm again and just working the jab, still working the jab, switching stances, working the jab the other side, and just at the last shot, the power is just insane. The power he has in that jab, such a nice jab. Eventually in the finish, like I said early in round 3, I'm a Kamaru Usman fan, but it was so hard not to feel bad for Gilbert Burns when you see how upset he was after, and you can be sure that he worked hard to get to where he was. And obviously for both guys it was tough, them being friends, and it was on the build up to the fight. Like, their kids, I don't know, I think one of them has a son, the other has a daughter, are like really close friends, and I'd imagine it's a weird situation, but super good fight to watch. Like I said, they were pretty even until just that jab just won Usman the fight. Really, people have to respect him more now as a champion, and as a fighter he is up there with the best fighters that have ever done it. He's up there with them, and like I said, I love that everything he does is just so perfectly simplified. Like a really good jab, doesn't do any wild spinny kicks or anything like that. Just really good wrestling, really good jab, an insane cardio, and to steal one of Usman's own quotes, he's a problem. He is a problem for everybody now, and I was so happy that he called out Jorge Masvidal afterwards. I was super happy. That is the fight I want to see. I want to see Masvidal with full camp having another crack at Usman. Just the build up to it is going to be good. It's going to get both of them a nice big payday, and I do think, like, looking at that division, I don't see anybody causing Usman a problem except maybe Masvidal on a full camp. But even at that, I'm not sure. But that's the fight I want to see. I was so happy he called him out, and I can't wait to see. Hopefully the UFC book that sometime this year. Would be great to see. So yeah, again, start respecting the Nigerian Nightmare. He is that good. He is that good. Yeah, other fighters in that division. You got Leon Edwards, who as well as that doesn't get enough respect. But I don't think he's good enough to beat Usman. Really good fighter, and you also have to remember he has a loss on his record to Usman, which is his last loss, like eight or 9 fights ago, which is insane. But yeah, it's mad respect to Kamaru Usman. It was such a good win, and I can't wait to actually rewatch it and just see how he took over the fight with the jab and his straights. Really cool. And you always hear, for anyone that has trained a little bit, or even in boxing, like one of your most important punches is your jab, and like that fight is just a perfect example of that. But with all that said about Usman, Gilbert Burns is also a problem for everyone else in that division. He's just super well-rounded, super good fighter. His striking has gotten so nice, and he has really nasty power in his strikes. Like his right hand is insanely powerful. I don't think Usman fully gave it away, but I think he really got hurt in that first round with that shot. And you think of the guys that Usman has fought with power as well. Like Burns is a problem for everyone else. You may see this fight run back again, depending on, I don't know what their future is, whether Usman is going to return to Henry Hooft's camp, or if he's going to stay with Trevor Whitman, or what's going to happen. But yeah, that's a fight you may see again. You may see Gilbert Burns put a few wins together and get back up there and challenge again. But I could not be happier that he called out Street Jesus. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I really hope the UFC book it. Other than that, they could do Colby again, I suppose, but I don't know. I don't think he causes a problem for Usman either. He will test him, but I believe Usman is better. Yeah, great win, great win. So that's basically all the fights. I got through pretty quick. I wanted to give my immediate reaction after the fights because it's fresh in my head. The other thing I wanted to quickly mention, it's not breaking news or anything, but Daniel Cormier, Joe Rogan and John Anik together, which you don't see as often anymore, but you can see why they're the best kind of team of commentators. It's just so much fun when you see them, when you hear them together. In particular, DC, he's a very fun character on the mic when he's talking, and he seems to let that out more when he's commentating with Joe Rogan. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed the fights when those boys are commentating. One of my other favourites is obviously Dan Hardy. I think Dan Hardy's great. I love to hear him commentating too. But that trio there, Rogan, DC and John Anik, it's brilliant. It's almost like getting three friends and having them comment on the fight. DC is just hilarious. He's really good, the stuff he comes out with, and very funny, and really makes the fight so enjoyable. But yeah, just wanted to say that too. Yeah, the other thing they were doing, which I hadn't noticed until I think it was DC that said it, they're using this like new camera for the UFC event. I don't know if anyone had noticed it, but it's this like special, I don't know, it's like super high resolution and super high K, whatever the fuck all that stuff means, I don't really know. But it's really cool to see. It looks kind of cinematic. Is that a real word? Cinematic? Google it, let me know. But that's what it looks like, something like that. It's like you're watching something in a cinema, or it's almost like it's done like a movie-ish kind of camera. The way it's done is really cool. It blurs everything out behind the fighters, and it's perfect detail. Really cool thing to see. Yeah, I don't know if this is their new thing anyway, but it's not. They don't have it on for the fights. It's literally for the walkouts. You see it for the corner cam as well, and the interviews. But yeah, really cool. It's a cool addition to the fights. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this event, and I really enjoyed that main event. God, I love Sundays fights, so good. But quickly, I'll run through what's coming up next. So next week we have a fight night. You have Curtis Blades and Derek Lewis, which that is going to be quite exciting. But to run through the card very quickly, I'd imagine they're not going to stack the prelims and stuff that much with this card, because you got some other super big cards coming up. But I'll run through it anyway. So on the... holy shit, there's a lot of fights on the prelims. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Why the fuck are there so many fights? Anyway, a lot of fights happening on the prelims next week. But you have Jared Vanderaa and Sergey Spivak. Whoever he is. But yeah, there. And then you have Sahabi versus Draco Rodriguez, Jamal Emmers versus Chaz Skelly, Shayna Dobson versus Casey O'Neill, Nate Landwehr versus Julian Rosa. I know Julian Rosa was an Ultimate Fighter guy. John Castaneda versus Eddie Wineland. Drakkar Close versus Luis Pena. That'll be a good fight, actually. Then you got Danny Chavez versus Jared Gordon. And then you got fucking Andrei Arlovsky versus Tom Aspinall, sorry. Arlovsky, Christ, he's still at it. Yeah, so some reasonable fights there. The main card is Phil Hawes versus Nasruddin Imavov. Oh, you're testing me with these names. Nasruddin Imavov. Then you got Alexei Olenek versus Chris Dawkins. That's a good fight too. Charles Rosa versus Derek Miller. Then you got Ketlin Vieira versus Yana Konitskaya. That's a good fight, actually. And then you got the heavy boys, Derek Lewis and Curtis Blades. Tough fight. I don't like that one for Derek Lewis, if I'm being honest. I think Curtis Blades wrestling is going to cause him problems there, but of course you've always got that bomb of a right hand that Derek Lewis has. But yeah, that's pretty much our podcast. They're super quick again. Makes it easier for you guys, so you're not sitting around listening to me too long. But yeah, so that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the fights. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Like I said on the previous one, we're getting some t-shirts put together. Go grab that day t-shirts and some other gear, fun stuff that we're going to put together. Hopefully some training gear eventually. So yeah, some fun stuff coming. Some very fun podcasts coming. Some more guests and things like that, but I'm not going to go into too much because you never know. I don't want to promise you things and something happen. But yeah, some fun stuff coming, so please keep liking and sharing and subscribing and all that. Like I always say, I enjoy the absolute shit out of this and I want to keep doing it all the time. So I'd like to get the subscribers and stuff like that up. It just makes it better for us to be able to do it. Hopefully be able to add more stuff, do more fun stuff with it. Also, we have an affiliation, as I've said before, with Mystic Jerseys, so definitely go check them out. The link is in the Instagram bio. They go grab that day Instagram bio. Definitely check them out, for gifts and things like that. Some really cool stuff. And make sure you use the promo code Go Grab That Day, all caps. Get your 10% off. Let them know I sent you. Thanks guys. Definitely please keep liking, sharing, subscribing. Hope you're all well and happy. Yeah, go grab that day. Peace out.